Imagine for a moment the most devastating scene you could ever witness. A narcissist, after years of manipulation and destruction, finally confronted with the ruins they left behind. The silence is deafening, the gaze is empty, and for the first time in their lives, they have no excuse, no narrative, no mask to hide behind. Jordan Peterson has finally revealed what happens when these people are forced to face the devastating consequences of their actions. And what you'll discover here will shock you to the core of your soul. If you want to understand what's really going on inside a narcissist's mind when the mask falls, subscribe to the channel, like it, and comment below if you already suspected that one day this collapse would happen. The truth is much darker than we imagine. Narcissism isn't just excessive vanity or inordinate self-love. It's a psychological prison built on foundations of sand. Peterson, drawing on decades of clinical research and the seminal works of Carl Jung, reveals that every narcissist lives in constant terror of one thing: reality. And when that reality finally hits, when the consequences become undeniable, the collapse isn't just emotional, it's existential. But can you imagine what this means in practice? Think about the people you know, those individuals who always find a way to blame others, who never take responsibility, who constantly create grandiose narratives about themselves. According to clinical psychologists specializing in personality disorders, these behaviors are defense mechanisms against an unbearable truth. They know deep down that they are responsible for the destruction around them. The process of developing a narcissist is, according to modern psychology, a traumatic response to vulnerability. Peterson explains that these individuals, usually in childhood, developed a survival strategy based on creating a grandiose and false self. They built an emotional fortress where they are always the heroes of their own story, where every failure is someone else's fault, where every destroyed relationship was external sabotage. But what happened next will shock you. For years, this strategy has worked. They manipulate, control, destroy relationships, crush other people's careers, and leave a trail of suffering in their wake. And they manage to maintain this narrative because our society, in a way, rewards narcissistic behavior. On social media, in corporate culture, in politics, narcissism has become almost a valued skill. But there's a fatal problem with this equation. Reality always takes its toll, and then the mask falls. Peterson describes this moment as the inevitable encounter with what Jung called the shadow. It's not just seeing your own flaws, it's being confronted with the devastating impact you've had on the lives of real people. It's seeing the child who's moved away forever. It's discovering that friends were only tolerant out of fear or self-interest. It's realizing that professional success was built on the systematic destruction of innocent colleagues. But is this the whole truth? Science shows us that the narcissistic brain works differently. Recent neuropsychological studies reveal that these people have real difficulty processing empathy and personal responsibility. When they are finally forced to confront the consequences, the shock is not just emotional, it's neurological. It's as if the mind's entire operating system malfunctions. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Can a narcissist really change when confronted with the truth? Jordan Peterson often cites cases from his years of clinical practice where he has witnessed these moments of collapse. He describes patients who came to his office having lost everything: family, career, friends, reputation. And their first reaction isn't regret or self-criticism. It's pure panic. It's the feeling that all of reality is crumbling, because it literally is. Their entire identity was built on lies, and when the lies are exposed, only emptiness remains. Can you imagine waking up one day and realizing your entire life has been a sham? That every relationship you've destroyed, every person you've hurt, every opportunity you've sabotaged for others, it all comes back to you like an emotional tsunami. Peterson explains that this moment is simultaneously the greatest tragedy and the only opportunity for salvation in a narcissist's life. But here's what will truly shake your convictions. Not everyone can cross this chasm. Most don't. The weight of responsibility, the magnitude of the suffering caused, the impossibility of undoing decades of damage, all of this can lead to what experts call a total narcissistic breakdown. Some isolate themselves completely, others develop severe depression, and in extreme cases, it can even lead to suicide. And then the question no one wants to ask arises: do they deserve compassion at this moment? Peterson, with his deeply humanistic perspective, argues that they do, not because their actions are forgivable, but because the alternative, a society without the possibility of redemption, is even more terrifying. Jungian psychology teaches us that integrating the shadow is the most difficult task any human being can undertake. For a narcissist whose shadow contains decades of destruction and manipulation, this process is equivalent to dying psychologically and being completely reborn. It's literally dismantling oneself as a person and rebuilding oneself from scratch, owning up to every mistake, every wound they've caused, every life they've negatively impacted. But what you're about to discover will change your outlook on relationships forever. Peterson revealed that there's an identifiable pattern when a narcissist finally accepts the consequences. First comes furious denial. They lash out even more ferociously, trying to destroy anyone who confronts them. Then comes bargaining, desperate attempts to negotiate a more palatable version of the truth. Then comes deep depression, when they realize there's no escape. And finally, for the few who make it through this psychological hell, comes something Peterson describes as radical acceptance. It's not just admitting mistakes, it's taking full responsibility for the suffering caused and dedicating the rest of your life to trying to repair the damage, knowing it may never be possible. Leave a comment below if you've ever seen someone go through this radical transformation. What makes this process even more complex is that we live in an era where narcissism is epidemic. Social media, celebrity culture, extreme identity politics all conspire to create more and more people disconnected from reality and the consequences of their actions. Peterson frequently warns that we are raising entire generations who may never learn to take real responsibility. But is there hope? According to longitudinal studies of personality change, the answer is surprisingly complex. Narcissists can change, but only under extreme circumstances, usually when they've lost literally everything and are forced to confront stark reality. And even then, the success rate is extremely low. Most prefer to construct new fantasies rather than face the devastating truth. Peterson also alerts us to a disturbing phenomenon. Narcissists who use their own recovery journey as a new source of narcissistic admiration. They become the heroes of their own redemption, transforming even the process of taking responsibility into a performance to gain external validation. It's narcissism disguised as personal growth. The question remains, how should a society deal with these people? Infinite compassion creates more victims. Eternal condemnation precludes any possibility of real change. Peterson suggests an approach he calls radical responsibility, creating clear and inevitable consequences, but keeping the door open for genuine redemption. And here's the most shocking revelation of all. According to Peterson, we all have narcissistic tendencies. The difference is only one of degree. This means that understanding a narcissist's breakdown isn't just about them. It's about understanding the darkest aspects of ourselves. It's about asking, what consequences am I avoiding facing? What responsibilities am I shifting onto others? What you'll discover in the upcoming videos will show you how to identify these patterns in yourself before it's too late. And if you've made it this far, you're probably ready for this brutal but necessary journey of self-discovery. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because we'll delve even deeper into this abyss of the human psyche that Jordan Peterson teaches us so much about exploring.